Now we're going to get into the how-to of relationships for literacy development. As a teacher, when there was ever any professional development, when I was working on my master's, whenever I was reading a book for practitioners, one of my driving questions was always, how can I use this in my classroom? Exactly what does it look like for teachers on the day-to-day? So in this section, I'm going to give you that and make this very applicable for you right away. Let's get into the how of relationships for literacy development. I'll explain several ways to successfully use relationships to support literacy development over the next 2 videos. In this video, I'll share 3 ways to make caring and trust visible. You'll learn how to show students you care about them and trust them. This can, in turn, give students motivation to care about and trust you and be much more willing to take risks in your literacy classroom. So, the first how-to, or the first pointer for relationships for literacy development will probably feel to you a bit like common sense, but it's important to state nonetheless. I'm going to encourage you to begin by showing interest in what students tell you and remembering what they share with you. When you ask students what's going on, listen and remember what they share with you. Bring that up the next day. Have an ongoing dialogue. You'll see that the conversation moves from superficial to a much deeper place over time. For literacy development, such conversations can deepen your knowledge of what makes students tick. Developing an authentic understanding of student interests will allow you to incorporate those interests into literacy tasks. You can suggest books and develop writing activities based on student interest. Also, you can bring these conversations into the realm of literacy even further and determine what it is that students want to improve in their literacy world. Then, if you validate those literacy desires and concerns by asking them and supporting them in the ways they would like to improve, they will be more likely to do what you ask, even if it's not what they want to be doing. The next pointer for building relationships for literacy development may feel a little funny to you as a teacher because teachers hear all about boundaries and when other teachers have crossed them by oversharing with students. So this pointer, the next one, is to be taken up in a deliberate manner. It is okay to share with students little elements of what makes you you. Teachers who cross the boundary of what's appropriate to share may divulge information that can be used against them. Don't tell students secrets or things they shouldn't know, like your favorite wine or an inappropriate joke you and your friends like to tell. Do tell students what your hobbies are, what's important to you and why, and your favorite appropriate jokes. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Know when to seal it and when to spill. For literacy development, sharing information about yourself with students deepens their sense that you trust them with personal, even if not sensitive information. This sense of trust will give them confidence to take risks with you. Furthermore, share with students what your literacy life is like. Do you write a blog? Do you read every night before bed? What is it that you like to read? Do you like reading digital or print texts better? Let students in on the real-life literacy world of an adult. Maybe even consider using what you know about your own literacy practices to reconsider what counts as literacy in your classroom. When students come into your room, you should be standing at the door or somewhere that you can see them enter and greet each one. An added bonus would be to give them a high five, or take something you learned from a previous day and engage them in a brief conversation about it. For example, you could say something like, "Good morning, Sally. How did your cookies turn out?" Or, "What did your mom think of the gift you gave her?" Or, an even more sensitive topic that can build trust and deepen the relationship is when you remember and bring up things that are hard for the student. So, for instance, you could ask Sally, "How's your uncle doing? Is he out of the hospital yet?" So each of those questions can help you connect with students and help them feel like you really care. Better yet, learn what students' out-of-school literacies consist of. That is, what literacy tasks do they engage in when they're not in school? Also, what are they experts in? This can include video games, YouTube video curation, art, music, and other multimodal literacies. Learning what students' literacy practices are outside of school and then asking about those things when you greet them will validate those practices. Bonus points if you incorporate their out-of-school literacies in your instruction. I hope you found this section useful. It was meant to explain ways to learn more about students, share a bit about yourself without going over the line, and greet students in meaningful ways, and use what you learn to improve literacy development. Stay tuned because the next video, I would argue the most important, is specifically for the most difficult students.